Ever felt like you're meant for more than just a 9 to 5? Well, you're probably right. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people feel like they're stuck in their 9 to 5s, kind of just silently screaming internally, of course. And you're not alone. There's a lot of people that go through this. There's a lot of people that feel this way. Almost everybody that I've talked to always has some greater, I wouldn't say purpose, but like they always have an idea of what they could have done and they have their own sets of regrets and stuff. But today I'm going to be talking about my own experience with this sort of stuff. But just a heads up, I know I'm not too qualified to talk about this since I haven't really worked a full-time job. I've only ever taken part-time positions, as the only times I've ever worked was in high school. But I'm 23 years old, a millionaire from YouTube and real estate, still in college part-time and aiming to make 5 mil before I turn 26. But while I did work, and I did do around, I believe, 4 jobs, 2 of which was teaching, and then the other 2 was I used to be a pharmacy technician, and then I worked as a hospital assistant. Both of these jobs, by the way, in which I was probably not too qualified for, and it wasn't even in my field. My field is computer science, and so that's kind of where my interest lied, but I just took whatever job that I can find, as most people do, right? When you need money. But those are the 2 jobs that I worked, and they were very draining. My memories of working was just waking up at a time that I didn't want to wake up, going into an office filled with a bunch of people kind of putting up a smile until you mess up, and then they take it out on you if they're going through stuff. And it just wasn't too good of an experience. I mean, there was its upsides as well. But I think one thing that people need to get into their heads, and this I'm speaking from experience, is the security that a job does bring isn't as secure as you might think. So the way I like to think about it is, I mean, I guess it is a secure pathway because everybody does it, right? It's like a preset, predetermined direction that we're supposed to be heading into. But I think you not doing it is the bigger risk. You not taking a leap of faith in both yourself and what you can accomplish is the risk, right? That you're kind of like, it's risky, but I think it's more of a risk to stay at one place, stay at one job. And you could even see this in any workplace. Corporations, they will replace you in a heartbeat. They will, because if you don't meet quota, if you don't meet whatever it is they want you to meet, they will remove you and replace you. Loyalty as well isn't rewarded. I know a bunch of people just kind of cling on to their job thinking like, oh, if I just work 10 years, I'll get manager position. I mean, if you are working a 9 to 5, you should know that job hopping is kind of the meta with getting paid more. But let's say you just, stuck to it. They're probably not going to reward you as much as you think. Job security is kind of what they sell you. No different to the American dream and some of these other conceptual understandings. Job security is one of them, and the way they sell it to you is through benefits. So benefits just kind of give you a bunch of bread and butter stuff to make it seem like you're getting something out of it, whether it's a 401k double, whether it's a health benefit. So an analogy that I like to use is credit cards. Now, credit cards are great for credit building, but the way they make you get one is very scummy in my opinion. They give you all these rewards, these travel rewards, these cashback rewards, and then they kind of make you think like, oh damn, I'm saving mad money, but you have to spend 95% of whatever money you're saving for them to give you the cash back. Like, you guys realize that, right? And so I kind of see it in a similar way where it's like, you have to work this job, but you also get a little bit in return. And that's kind of how they keep you on a leash. And one thing I noticed is a lot of people kind of have a moment where they either get fed up or they just kind of go through it, because a lot of people, they just turn off their brains and just do what must be done, which I understand. You got to put food on the table. But there are times where it's just a lot, to be honest. If y'all are new here, I live in New York City, kind of like a fester of a bunch of people trying to make really, really big amounts of money. But I ended up working at a hospital, which was right in the center of the city. It was a cancer department that I worked in, and everything was going okay. I was basically in charge of a bunch of paperwork, a bunch of nursing, just like a bunch of random stuff that they needed help with. So they kind of put me in different areas to kind of build up my experience there. And just one thing I remember was it was the most simplest mistake. So basically, there are some papers that are like outdated or expired or no longer needed, or they're put into digital, right? Where it's like put into the computer. And so all I had to do was dispose of them. We have a paper cutting machine. Nobody told me what the limit was. It wasn't even written on there. Nothing. I decided to put all the paper in there, and then basically it ended up melting. So like the machine started overheating, it got like jammed inside, and then everyone was mad at me. And I was like, bro, nobody told me. But then like it was such a weird experience because they were just like kind of thinking of what to do, and the first thing that the manager thought of was just to like take it out on me because she had a bad day too. It was terrible, but like it kind of made me think like, damn, you know, like I get it, it's my fault, and I understand that. But it's like times like those, like damn, I'm really just in the hands of this manager. If this manager wants me out, I lose my job, you know? And that's just a part-time position. Imagine if it was some full-time position and you needed it to pay off the mortgage, to just live your life. That would be horrible. But yeah, those were just some of the moments I thought of because I remember fearing my boss and just thinking like, wow, I could really just lose this position that I'm in. But I kind of just had to keep it going. I just had to put my head down and just kind of accept what was thrown at me. So this is my advice to you guys if you are in this little predicament where you're either working a 9 to 5 and you're kind of thinking of these other ideas that you can do, or you might be in school. So for my experience, a lot of it was just school and like college. But side hustles are where it's at, but that's all it is if that's all you look for. So there's two sides to it. I think side hustles are pretty important because that's all I've been doing since the age of 10, even before I realized I can sell it. So I looked into a bunch of stuff like animating, you know, those little YouTube intros. Yeah, I used to make them. Did I get paid for them? Absolutely not. But I had a blast just learning a bunch of skills that I didn't even know if it would pay off, and long term it did, but I didn't know it would. And I think that's how you should do it as well. So you do get the leverage because if you stay in your job or if you stay into school, you can still build these side hustles and build up skills with less risk. And I think that's a really good way to go about it. Think about it. There's a lot of hours during the day. What are you going to do after hours? And I know it's hard, okay? Because I feel the same thing. I'm still a part-time college student. Once I'm done with finals, I come home. I'm like a deadbeat, okay? I'm like sitting on my bed going like, damn, I don't want to do anything. All right, I get it. But it does help. It does help if you can do something. Even if it's little. It doesn't have to be some huge, grand thing. Like, I know a lot of people are just like, oh, you know, you don't want to overwhelm yourself with your side hustles either. Make tangible goals. Make tangible things you could do on a day-to-day basis, and they will compile. That is my suggestion to you. There's also kind of like a high you get from quitting. So for me, it was a little bit less since I was just like, school started again. So my quitting went more of the lines of, I have school and I can't really work here anymore. But thank you, you know, it was not too bad. But there is like an adrenaline rush. But I really don't recommend quitting until you get some side hustle going for you, or just like an idea of what it is you want to do, right? So it depends person to person. Apply where it applies. I also want to say there is nothing wrong with a 9 to 5, okay? There's this huge wave on everything basically saying that 9 to 5s are bad. 9 to 5s are not bad, right? It can get you to your goals if you don't have any other vehicle. Use it, okay? Use your tool set. They're great for learning. They're great for networking. They're great for making mistakes, not on your own dollar. Because one thing I could tell you as a business owner myself, your mistakes will cost you hundreds, if not thousands. All right? So use someone else's dime and make those mistakes at their place instead of your own place. Some things to think about is like, what's also the worst that can happen? You can always get another job, and it's usually fear that stops people from leaving their job. So if it's not like a long-term position, like if you didn't see yourself being there for a long time anyways, you might as well see what you can do. You can accomplish anything, especially with the internet and AI. Like, it's never been easier. There's so many options. You could do TikTok shop, you could do content, you could do agencies. It doesn't matter. All you need to be is a tiny micro business within a huge business, right? If the huge businesses are making billions of dollars, you being a tiny business could be making 100,000 salary pretty easily. So if you think about like that, like there's so much money to be made. All you need to do is start. So if you do need to, burn that bridge. Sometimes you need it. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you need it to force yourself to grow. And again, as I mentioned, I'm not too qualified to talk about full-time positions and stuff, but for myself, I took a gap semester. But for me, it was a gap semester. I took it just to focus on my business and see how far I could take it. And so even if it's for a little bit, it still helps because it tells you like, oh, okay, if I had this and this was the only thing that I did, could I really make any tangible result? And that should tell you a pretty decent amount. All of these things kind of tie into business and how you can basically build something for yourself instead of helping someone else build their dream, which is your boss. And so there's a lot of things that could be reached, whether it's wealth that you want, whether it's freedom of time that you want, or is to retire your parents, because mine is all three of them. So it all comes down to your own work. If you're going to start something, if you're going to start your own business, or if you're going to start a side hustle, there is no one else to blame besides you. So if this was helpful in any shape or form, consider subscribing and also join up on the Discord. Might as well. Gonna start making a community. And I think it'd be kind of cool if you guys gave me topics to talk about, because I don't really know what to talk about besides things that I'm interested in. So let me know in the comments either. Like, either way. Peace.